Let's start with Sunday Night Football. Bears, Packers. For the Packers, for Aaron Rodgers, that's about as close to a perfect game as a quarterback can have. That's really the quarterback equivalent to a perfect game. On the Bears side, I do not know. Trubisky, you probably start looking at the draft on April 29th at this point. Where do the Bears go from here, Rodney?
They got to make some changes. They got to make some big changes. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. Matt Nagy has failed the Chicago Bears. Ryan Pace has failed the Chicago Bears. After Ryan Pace, the general manager, screwed that Mitchell Trubisky pickup, they should have fired him. So the Bears are going to have to blow things up. They're going to have to start over if they want to contend in the future.
Well, here's what Matt Nagy said after a difficult loss and what's been a difficult stretch, now 5 straight after a pretty smooth start for the Chicago Bears. Here is their head coach.
Every freaking coach on the staff, every player better wake up and start understanding where we're at. Have some personal pride. Have a freaking sense of urgency. Know where we're at. Have some pride into who we're playing for and why we do this. And then go find a way to win as a team. That's my challenge to every single person in that building this week is that. And so yesterday was flat out embarrassing. Our guys know it. I'm not telling you something they don't know. They know it. But that performance yesterday is ridiculous and can't happen. And obviously that starts with me.
And he said it best. It starts with him. It does start with him. But also, something very disturbing happened yesterday that it was just really bothersome to me. The fact that the Bears' defense wasn't playing hard. They flat out quit. Now, that was the first time I could really admit that the Bears actually quit on the field. It's the defense, Eddie Jackson and those guys, you just didn't see them. They didn't want to tackle. They just flat out quit, Jack.
Is there anything, too, when the team doesn't believe in the quarterback, doesn't believe in the leader, to where offensively, defensively, the star players just start to lose the belief, start to lose the trust, and then you start to see some of the quit you're talking about? They just don't believe in Trubisky, and it trickles down from there?
I'm almost thinking they don't believe in Trubisky. They don't believe in Matt Nagy. And when players stop believing in their head coach, then all of a sudden they find reasons not to play hard. They protect themselves from getting injured. They don't go that extra mile. They don't come in early and do all the necessary things to prepare themselves for the following week. And then all of a sudden you get separation. You get guys talking in the locker room. You get, the offense versus the defense, and then you just start to get the divide. But Matt Nagy was right. It starts with him. He has to have this team a lot more prepared. And the Bears, they just don't have enough on the offensive side of the ball.
After being there last night, I got a whole new respect for Aaron Rodgers and what he's been able to accomplish over his career. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does in the environment in which he does it. I mean, this is late November football, right? So it gets, weather-wise, gets a lot worse from there. It is freezing cold. It's that cold, gusty wind, and it's the wind's blowing hard enough to where it's affecting passes. I don't have any doubt in my mind that it was affecting Trubisky's passes. And then you watch Aaron Rodgers play, and it's perfect. It's like he's completing every pass, touchdown after touchdown. Couldn't look any more comfortable. It looks like it's 80 degrees and sunny. Like, he does it in the hardest conditions in football, week after week, year after year. And I'm not sure we give him enough credit just because it's what he's always done. He's been there his whole career. He's been there his whole life. But, man, it's tough up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and there's no excuses to be heard.
It's funny because we sit back and we always talk about Aaron Rodgers. We always talk about how great he is. But yet I feel the same way you feel. Like, we don't talk about him enough. And I don't know. I mean, he's got 1 Super Bowl ring?
Yep, 1.
So that's probably the reason, because individually, I mean, he's putting up the numbers, the stats, and all those different things. But, when you start talking about the all-time greats, the all-time greats have to win multiple Super Bowls. And I think this is a big year for Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have to do a better job of getting Aaron Jones more involved in this offense. Look, I love Devonte Adams. I think he's fantastic. But if they want to take that next step and get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to be able to run the football. They're going to have to be able to create mismatches. And they're going to have to be able to play well on defense and be able to stop the run. That's what, what's really holding them back defensively.
Well, Rodgers turns 37 this week. He's playing the best football of his career. He's playing like that 2011, 2014 MVP versions of himself. And Matt LaFleur came in, and at first it was a little, whose ideas are going to win, who's going to be the alpha here. And they found a way to make this partnership work. I don't know how specifically it has worked. I think there was, to some degree, Aaron's going, listen, coach, I've been doing it at this level longer than you have. And that's just the facts. He has been operating, calling plays, checking at the line of scrimmage longer than Coach LaFleur has. And once they had a mutual respect for each other, it has just taken off. There's been a newness, a new freshness to Aaron Rodgers, a new energy about him. And they're dominating on the offensive side of the football. Here is their head coach, Matt LaFleur, after a big win on Sunday Night Football.
Are you light years ahead of where you were a year ago at this time offensively?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels that way. However, we know that you're only as good as your last performance, and so we've got to continue to get better and find ways to get better. Otherwise, you guys are going to say we stink. So it's week to week in this league, and we've got to continue to dig and make sure that we're doing everything in our power to get better and better and better.
I think Matt LaFleur came in, and it wasn't I don't think it was a struggle of power. I think as a young coach, he wanted to come in, show Aaron Rodgers his respect and, how he views Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, you're trying to win over a locker room. And it's tough to do because you don't want to step on Aaron Rodgers' toes, but yet you want to be able to, to let him know kind of what your expectations are. So I thought he's done a really good job of coming in, really managing the situation. And it really takes for Aaron Rodgers to be open-minded. And I think this year, more so than any year that I've seen Aaron Rodgers, you talk about the energy. I call it positive energy. Because for so many years, Aaron would always mope and always would say negative things and sarcastic things. He's a changed person. He's different. His energy is different. So when he comes off to these young guys are more willing to accept Aaron Rodgers because he's a lot more patient with them.
I agree with you. And when you go watch a Packers practice, it is one of the most unique looking practices ever because it almost feels like Aaron Rodgers is the head coach. It's like the whole practice just revolves around him, and he sort of creates a practice to exactly what he wants. So there's certain drills where he'll just stand there and literally it is a trash can down the field. And for the entire period, it could be 15, 20-minute period, all he's doing is just throwing balls at the bucket because he knows that the offense is just all about hitting that spot, but he's just throwing balls at the bucket. It doesn't even look like he's working hard at all. It looks like the easiest practice that you'd ever see at the NFL level, but Aaron knows what he needs to get right. And I just think it's just taking time for LaFleur to go, if I buy into what Aaron wants to do, Aaron may buy into what I want to do, and you just start to see those trusting moments. Like when Aaron points, throw a touchdown, first thing he does is points over to the sideline, points right at LaFleur and says, that's the play call. That's exactly it. When they find this flow, this can be a dangerous, dangerous offense. And I think you're starting to see them get healthy. Hopefully Lazard comes back healthy. I know he took a big shot in Sunday Night Football. Devonte Adams is back. He's having one of the biggest years of his career, and he missed two big games with the hamstring injury, and his stats are absolutely off the charts. 9 touchdowns in the last 6 games is what they've had. I mean, they are really rolling offensively. Let's get to Kansas City. Speaking of teams that are hot right now offensively, the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreke Hill, he just went off in that game yesterday.
Yeah, it was unbelievable because when Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they played against the Rams, Todd Bowles set back in zone coverage, and Jared Goff absolutely picked them apart. Bing, 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 all the way down the field. So then he comes out and says, you know what, we're going to do something different. We're going to play man-to-man. We're going to have Carlton Davis stick the most explosive, fastest receiver in the National Football League. And not only will he guard him, he's going to guard him by himself. And I'm like, okay, you saw the first touchdown. You're like, what is he doing? He's 10 yards off. He's playing 10 yards off, and Tyreke Hill still beats him down the field. If you're playing 10 yards off coverage, let the guy catch the 10-yard out cut. Nobody cares about that, but you cannot give up anything deep. And that's the problem that I have. If you're going to play man-to-man, be fair to – I know, Todd Bowles, as a defense coordinator, you want to challenge your guys, and I get it. But you also – it's your responsibility as a defensive coordinator to make sure that they're in a position to be successful. And going one-on-one, I wouldn't put Jalen Ramsey one-on-one with Tyreke Hill all over the field. So I just think the game plan could have been better. In the second quarter, toward the latter part of the second quarter, he switched, started keeping 2 safeties back, and then it forced Patrick Mahomes to stay patient and dink and dunk. When you're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, you can't give up big plays. You have to stay patient defensively, and you have to know who you're going against. Is it Travis Kelce? He should be doubled. Tyreek Hill should be doubled. All those other guys, Mecole Hardman and Robinson, take your chances with them. But you cannot give up big plays to those guys I just named.
Andy Reid does such a masterful job of sort of where's Waldoing Tyreke Hill, where you just never know where he's going to line up, and he motions him, brings him across the formation, gives him the ball on those end-around plays, and just lets him go beat the corner to space, brings him in motion, then throws it to him going back across the field. Like, just having, like you said, Kelce and Tyreke, and so many weapons on that offense. Now Le'Veon and Helaire. It's like there's so much for you to think about. And Hardman, I think you just get distracted by looking at all the diamonds, and before you know it, Tyreek Hill is beating your cornerback by 10, 15 yards down the field. And to some degree, I think we as an NFL community make the same mistake that talent evaluators make when we start talking about who the best receivers in football are. I don't think it's about being 6'5", 225 pounds, running 4.3. I think it's about, can you win every single play? And I don't see any receiver in football that wins on every single play. He doesn't get the credit he deserves as a route runner either. This guy is open. He wins contested ball situations, and he is always, always, always behind the defense, and he has the perfect quarterback to deliver him the ball when he's there wide open. Let's get to Bruce Arians.
Hold on, Jack.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rodney.
No. Go with Bruce Arians. That's where I want to go.
Yeah. As we always do, whenever we criticize somebody in the defense they're playing, we like to get them in on the conversation, then we take it from there. So here's Bruce Arians on their defensive game plan against one of the best receivers in football, Tyreke Hill.
Yeah, but he had a man-to-man. We tried to get a safety to him if we could. You got Kelce on the other side, too. So it's a lot of weapons. But when we did play man-to-man, Patrick found him, and they made some really good plays.
It's amazing. They had so much money in the. It's amazing to me because they have so much money in that front seven. It's just keep 2 safeties back and say, guys, we're going to take away the big play. You guys have to handle the run and all the underneath routes. But you talk about how great their linebackers were. It's not like they were all over the field making plays. Shaq Barrett, he came in, had a strip sack in the red zone against Patrick Mahomes, and they end up scoring off that. But it wasn't like their defense was just making plays. And you look at their defense, they've been giving up 20-plus points the last 3 or 4 games. So it's not like their defense is great, but everybody wants to overhype them.
Rod, if I said to you right now, $1 million bet, give you the Kansas City Chiefs or give you the field, who would you take for a Super Bowl?
I said this last night to Chris Sims. I'm saying I'm taking Kansas City because you're not going to stop Kansas City, but it's certain things that you have to do. You got to be able to jam Tyreke Hill at the line of scrimmage. He's the fastest guy in the National Football League, but yet nobody jams him. Nobody slows him down. Then defensive coordinators want to go man-to-man with him. And it's like no one in the National Football League can defend this guy man-to-man. And, yeah, Travis Kelce is a problem, but there's times and situations where you have to double him. But if I'm a free safety, I'm always shading over to the side of Tyreke Hill because he's, him and Travis Kelce, they're the most dangerous guys on that team other than Patrick Mahomes.
Well, they have the best quarterback maybe of all time, one of the best, fastest receivers to ever play in the NFL in Tyreke Hill, one of the best tight ends to ever play in the NFL and Travis Kelce, an emerging star at running back in Helaire, and then another, Le'Veon Bell, he was part of the Killer Bees, man. And now when you hear the stories about Le'Veon Bell being a new person in terms of just tutoring Helaire, saying anything I can do to pass down some knowledge to you, I'm in, man. Like anything I can do to help you. If he has that kind of attitude, you know that Andy Reid's going to start to feed him his touches, be it in the passing game, be it in the running game, whatever it is. That is such a scary, scary team coming down the home stretch. I'm with you. I'm taking KC over the field in $1 million bet as well, even though I have nowhere near $1 million. Real quick, as good as the Kansas City Chiefs have been, Tampa Bay looked all kinds of out of sorts. Tom Brady, I don't think I've ever really seen him look that confused playing offense. He's like at one point walking over and whispering in AB's ear. It was just a really weird day. Why did he look so confused? You have any idea what was going on there, Rod?
I just, when I look at Tom, and Tom is a guy that's typically in control of everything kind of around him. And to me, he's trying to appease too many people. He's trying to appease all his wide receivers. He's trying to appease his tight ends. He's trying to appease his coach. He's got so much pressure on him, and he doesn't look relaxed. And it looks like he's putting so much pressure on himself to be something that he's not. They're asking him to throw the ball down the field. We know that Tom Brady is a guy that likes to get the ball out of his hands quick. He wants to run the football, an occasional trick play. Even when they go empty sets, he wants to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He doesn't want to hold on to the ball and throw the ball down the field. That's not him, especially at 43 years old. He's a different guy. And what teams are doing in Kansas City did, they came after Tom. And they didn't care if he held the ball. They didn't care if they got rid of it quickly. They came after Tom. And then they stopped having a little bit of success with that. Then they started playing some zone and some man coverage. And Tom in the second half started making some plays. But you cannot give Kansas City a 21-0 lead or whatever it was and expect to be able to come back because they're just too good of a football team.
Those are the facts. And the reality is that now Tom has found himself in another coach-quarterback controversy. Because you have all these conversations bouncing back and forth between whose offense is it? Is it Arians' offense? Is it Brady's offense? Is it a blending of the two? Who's calling the plays? Who's checking at the line of scrimmage? And it's all good when you're winning, and it's all bad when you're losing. And now that they're losing, that's exactly what it is, bad. So here was Tom Brady when he was asked about his head coach, Bruce Arians, right after the game.
There's been some folks that have had some chatter about, you still look like you're running someone else's offense. One of your former teammates even said on TV that he thinks that you need a new head coach. What do you make of all that noise?
No, it's just the external noise that when you're losing, that's what you deal with. So, I love playing for the guys that I play with, the coaches, the whole organization's been unbelievable. And I think we just got to go out and I certainly have to do a better job the last 4 weeks of the year. So appreciate it. Just have a good week.
And Tom is really good about ignoring the outside noise, but at the same time, he has to look at his play, and it just hasn't been what we expected. I mean, when he's under pressure, and I've said this for years. I've told Coach Dungy this for years because I played with Brady for 6 years, and I've been watching him. And I competed against him. I remember playing against him. I think it was 2002. We played against Tom. But Tom, under pressure, he's a different quarterback. I said that in different Super Bowls that we covered when the Patriots were playing. It's just who he is. And now he's 43. He's even more paranoid. If you go around his knees, he's getting rid of that ball. And then him just throwing balls up and guys, DBs, I've never seen that before. So you can tell he just doesn't feel comfortable. And you asked me the question is, who offense is this? Well, it has to be Tom Brady's offense because he doesn't have the time to try to figure out everything that Bruce Arians wants him to do. He has to say, this is what's comfortable to me. Let's do these different things. And you look at their personnel. They got these big, rangy guys that want to push the ball down the field. When he was with New England, he had Wes Welker. He had Julian Edelman. He had these short, small, possession-type receivers, and he excelled with that. So they got to find some type of balance, but he has to be comfortable and stop trying to appease everybody.
That's a really good point. And AB, in theory, can be that kind of slot, quick receiver that can always be open, but they just don't look like they have any clue what the other one's thinking right now. Tom wants to get AB the ball. AB wants the ball desperately, as he always does, and they just have no clue. I've never seen a quarterback in shotgun, ready to get the snap, look over at his receiver and go, oh, he has no clue what the play is. Have to run from his quarterback spot all the way out to the receiver spot and go like this. He literally whispered into AB's ear what the route was. And you're looking at the DB, he's standing, he's in bump and run coverage, he's 4 feet away, he probably heard the route. You have all of those kind of things going on. And even Mike Evans, the only person that he looks comfortable throwing the ball to right now, in my opinion, is Gronk. And Gronk's not the same Gronk. Like, he's playing great football for his age and all those things, but he just can't quite run like he used to. Am I wrong there, Rod?
No, you're not. You're absolutely right. When I was watching the game this morning, I was like, you know what, he only feels comfortable with Gronk. And you saw, like, even Mike Evans had one. He laid it perfectly in his hands and went straight through his hands. And you look at Mike, I love Mike Evans. I think he's one of the top receivers in this league. But you look at his body language, and the body language is bad. And the only way they're going to have success this year is everyone has to understand, we can't care about the stats. It doesn't matter who gets 1,000 yards. It doesn't matter who gets 70, 80 catches. If they want to win, if they want to go far in the playoffs, you got to put all those selfish ambitions and those individual things that you're trying to accomplish away. It's all about the team. And that's the thing that Tom is trying to get that message throughout the locker room. It's about the team. It's not about your numbers. If you want to win a Super Bowl, who cares if you have a guy? Look, we had Randy Moss in 2007. We went undefeated, 16-0, ended up being 18-0, and lost in the Super Bowl. So I think what they have to do is they have to get back to running the football with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones is a really good player. I think he's one of the most underrated players. And if you saw that catch out of the backfield and him take it up I think it was the left side of the sideline, and just the speed, the athleticism, and the will to get to the end zone, that's who they have to go through, not Tom Brady.
It's a team that's so damn talented. It's a team that desperately, it's almost like they needed a mid-season preseason. They just desperately needed a preseason, something where they can just get on the same page. And especially with AB joining so late down the line, I just think it's been so hard and kind of messed up the flow of this whole offense. Let's get to Tom's old team, the New England Patriots, get a win, and somehow, on life support they may be, but they are alive right now. How did they shut down Kyler Murray yesterday when you watched that game?
Well, the offense has been struggling, so Coach Belichick had to go old school on them, Jack. Special teams and defense, and it was tremendous. And defensively, they said, hey, we don't want to give up the big play. We're not going to give up the big play, and they didn't give up the big play. DeAndre Hopkins had 5 catches, I think, for 55 yards. The second thing is, hey, we cannot allow Kyler Murray to run around and beat us with his legs, and they did an excellent job. And they rushed forward. They had 2 spies at times, and there's just – look, this is perfect. 4-man rush, and you got to get your hands up. Kyler Murray is 5'8". He's a 5'8" quarterback. So if you want to pressure him, get the pressure up. You see Chase Winovich, he's up in the air. You see the corners, the safeties, they're playing back. They're giving them these quick throws and things like that, but they have 2 spies right here making sure that Kyler Murray, and that was the difference in the game. He only was able to rush for 31 yards, and when you can hold Kyler Murray and you limit his playmaking ability, that's how you take him away.
It was really fun to watch the way that Belichick played Kyler Murray. Even when he would bring pressure, if he would bring more than 4, if he would bring 6 or bring 7, there was always guys that were just patiently waiting. They weren't really trying to go sack him in the backfield. They were rushing, and then they were breaking down and just going, come on, just daring Kyler to run. And very rarely do you see Kyler look uncomfortable escaping. But that's the way he looked the whole game. Even when he would try to peel out and just do his big looping Russell Wilson spin out, there was defenders just waiting, layers of defenders waiting for him. And really the only 1 or 2 times you saw him escape when he tried to was when they broke contain, when somebody fell or tripped or got blocked in a weird way. That was the only time that he ever really got out of there. For the vast majority of that game, they had him contained. Now, on the other side of the ball, the Patriots don't seem to trust Cam Newton. I mean, that seems problematic to me. This is a glorified Wildcat offense. They don't want to let him throw. And I don't know that in today's NFL, you can really make a deep playoff run if you're not willing to trust your quarterback more than 8 or 9 times a game.
Well, that's why they're 5-6. Because, they have faith in Cam to a certain degree, but he struggled. He's playing poorly right now. And, he talked today about I'm not keeping it. A win is a win. I'm not going to make excuses for winning a football game, but you're not going to win very many football games when you can't throw the ball down the field. How many yards did he have? 8? Was it 89 or something like that, if I remember correctly? Yeah, something like that. He didn't even pass. Yeah, he didn't pass for even over 100 yards, and that's disappointing because now you're not affecting the defense. And Arizona should be. Let me tell you this. This loss right here could cost Arizona an opportunity to make the playoffs. I think this loss was huge because this is a loss where you come in, you expect to win. You got the Patriots struggling on offense, up and down on defense. And for you not to be able to come in and beat the Patriots, that was a big loss for the Arizona Cardinals, considering they still have to play some teams in the division.
Yeah, it was just one of those fun Belichick still got it kind of games. Like Arizona's all hot. Everybody's thinking Arizona's going to go in there and whoop the Patriots as they're weak. And Belichick just has that trump card, that joker stacked at the bottom of the deck, and he can pull it out anytime. Right. And that's why they're so sneaky, man. If they can figure out a way to just get in the playoffs, get a wild card spot, and there's, of course, that extra playoff spot now this year, the added playoff spot, 7. And so if they can sneak in there, then it just becomes week to week. If he can just, the old in the hunt, running out of ammo are the New England Patriots, but they have enough to pull.
And let me say this. Let me say this real quick.
They just got to win one game, man. Yeah, go ahead, Rod.
Yeah, I look at the Miami Dolphins, too. And the Miami Dolphins, they're one of the worst rushing teams in the National Football League. And now you have Tua. Will he play? Will he not play? You have Ryan Fitzpatrick. And the Miami Dolphins, they're not going to be able to just rely on the quarterback and the defense. They have to find a way to be able to run the football consistently if they want to make a playoff run.
Another team who's had just a terrific ground game lately, the Cleveland Browns. Although Baker Mayfield yesterday, he proved a little something. If he can be a supplement of this running game like he was, and I understand it was the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? That's one of those games you can get overhyped about coming out of. It's still pro football, though. And he was finally throwing the ball around, looked comfortable, slotting it into some places. Back of your mind, you're thinking, is there no OBJ? Is that making him a little more comfortable? Because Jarvis Landry looked like that star number 1 receiver as he did when he first got to Cleveland with no OBJ.
Yeah, and it's funny, even when Odell came, I never looked at him as being their number 1 receiver. I always looked at him as almost being their number 2 receiver because I felt like Landry was that security blanket that Baker Mayfield needed. But this offense comes down to Nick Chubb. I mean, if he can continue to run, and this kid can play football. He's a top 5 running back. He's excellent. And then you have an excellent complement in Kareem Hunt. And Kareem Hunt is an excellent receiver out of the backfield. We've seen that his rookie year. He can run in between the tackles. He provides them with a lot of energy and a lot of physicality. I love what Cleveland is doing. Before, I wasn't a big believer, but they've won 3 straight. They're playing solid defense. They're running the ball. They're physical. And Baker Mayfield, he started rusty yesterday. He threw some passes in the red zone, and they were high, and they were kind of off target, but he settled himself down and came back and really played a good game. Really nice corner route by Austin Hooper in the red zone that he completed. I like what they're doing. They're humble. It's not a lot of talking, not a lot of friction. I think Kevin Stefanski is doing a really good job of just keeping those guys focused on football, and that's what you have to do.
I agree with you, and it's a hard job. I think Freddie Kitchens proved to the football world how hard of a job that is. I mean, it's the Cleveland Browns now, man. This is a team that was 4-44 from 2015 to 2017. It was. They haven't had a winning season since 2007. No winning season since 2007. They're sitting there at 8-3 right now. They've won 3 straight. I think we're losing a little bit of perspective on the fact that this is the Cleveland Browns. And like Baker Mayfield, he may not be playing perfect, but he played pretty well Sunday, and he has them at 8-3, which is something that about 30 quarterbacks through the history of time haven't been able to go in there and win any games. So I think we got to give this guy a little bit of love for what they've been able to do. And I know it's been on the back of Chubb in that running game.
You're right. You're right. You know, it's funny because we sit here and we laugh at Cleveland for years for being really the laughingstock of the National Football League. And they're doing something unprecedented right now. And I do believe that Kevin Stefanski, he's right in that conversation with Mike Tomlin, Brian Flores as Coach of the Year. I think he's, like I said before, he's done a wonderful job of keeping those guys just focused on football and not all the other nonsense. And this season's going to come down to Baker Mayfield and what he's able to do. You know, will he continue to play, not turn the ball over? They rely on the run game. And Jarvis Landry, like you talked about, he was outstanding. Defense comes up with a couple plays. I like what Cleveland's doing. They're sitting there good in the 5 spot.
Yep, there it is. There's the playoff picture on the AFC side. Of course, in the division, Pittsburgh undefeated. That's what puts them in the wild card. Let's hear from Baker Mayfield, though, after a big win and what's really been a big season and a surprise season for the Cleveland Browns.
I really feel like we left a lot of points on the board, like truly do. I mean, there was a ton of missed opportunities from just my perspective, a lot of missed throws. You know, there's only 2 things I hate more than missing throws, and that's lying and skim milk. And skim milk's just water lying about being milk. So got to make those throws.
What? Lying in skim milk because skim milk's lying about being milk? Is that what he just said? Did I hear that right?
I don't know. I don't know where he was going with that, but he said exactly what I wanted him to say. It's funny, and let me just tell you this about players that love football, and he's a guy that loves football. You don't really bask in, like, your success. The thing that he's probably driving home, like, man, I missed that throw. It was too high. That's what you focus on. You don't focus on the success because you expect that as a great player. And I'm not saying he's a great player, but that's what he expects. He expects big things from himself. But that's what he's concerned about, the missed throws. And you know what? I think he's gonna improve. Baker, this is the most humble I've seen Baker. He's focused, and these guys really look at him as being that leader.
I can just tell you from personal experience, there's a big difference between 22 and 25. Like, just as a man, you change a lot from 22 to 25. That's a real maturity, and he's starting to get a little closer to that 25 thing, and I'm with you. I think you're starting to see a little bit of that. Let's get to somebody who is a great player. King Henry, Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans. They had lost round 1 to Indy. Round 2, they stormed into Indianapolis, and they just, from the very first snap of that game, were handling Indy in every single way, and Derrick Henry could not be stopped. How did they do it?
Well, you look at Indianapolis, DeForest Buckner, Danico Autry, Bobby Okereke. They were out against the Titans. So, you're Mike Vrabel. You're going out and saying 3 of their best defensive players are out. What are we going to do? We're not going to come out and throw the ball 50 times. We're going to run the football. And I just tell you, watching it, they just absolutely wore this defense down. Darius Leonard is an excellent running back, excellent linebacker, but he's more of a sideline guy. So they ran the ball down the hill. They ran it toward the sideline. Derrick Henry is actually catching passes out of the backfield. I like what they're doing with Derrick Henry, and he looks fresh. It's not like he's even tired or he's hurt. He looks fresh, but 27 carries, giving him over 25 carries, that's how you frustrate a defense. That's how you wear a defense down. And then all of a sudden, in the third and the fourth quarter, these DBs are looking like, and even the linebackers, because these are fast, athletic linebackers, oh my God, we got to hit this dude again. We got to hit this guy again. It just completely wears you out, and it frustrates you.
And I know that this is the league where we disrespect the running back position and we make it all about the quarterback, and nobody wants to pay the running backs. And as soon as they get over a certain age, we're looking to draft young and cheap and mid-round or late round. Like, that's just how the running back position is handled in the NFL. But there's no question this guy's different. Like, you look around the league, there's nobody else like him. And defenders don't want to touch him. They don't want any piece of him. If he gets to the second level, they really don't want any piece of him. Should he be in MVP consideration? Like, if you could take Patrick Mahomes out of it, would he be the MVP of the league right now?
It would be.
It's interesting.
So let me ask you this. Well, let me ask you this, because that's a really good question. So the 2 guys that really come to mind for me, or maybe the 3 guys outside of the quarterback, will it be Tyreke Hill? Who's another guy? I don't know, man. No, man. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. This guy's played well, but Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. But yeah, he's definitely deserves consideration.
Mahomes is definitely there, but it just feels like you'd put 3 or 4 quarterbacks ahead of him, just based on how we look at the NFL. Like Aaron Rodgers, he probably would slot in number 2 before they would give it to Derrick Henry. It's like, what would you even have to do as a running back? What would you have to do to win the MVP? I don't know that you could do more than Derrick Henry is doing right now. I guess that's the point.
Did you say 2,000 yards?
He may get close. He cruised past the century mark a week ago, right? Cruised.
But I tell you this, and I just want to mention this. We talk about the Tennessee Titans run game, and we got to give props. I mean, obviously to the offensive line. They've lost some guys on the offensive line, but these wide receivers, man, just how big and how just willing they are to block. These guys, man, A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, they get in your face, they block you. They're blocking down on defensive ends. They're blocking linebackers. I mean, they do a wonderful job. So everybody gets involved in the run game. It's not just Derrick Henry.
You see so many people that just underestimate what A.J. Brown's speed is. Like, he'll catch a slant, and a DB, the corner, the safety will take an angle, and they just miss. They don't think that a guy that big can accelerate like that. He's like T.O. or something, like Terrell Owens. When he hits the gas after he catches it, he is out the gate. And even if you do get a hand on him, he's too strong, too physical.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.